Good morning, Anjana. How are you?
Thank you,
Um,
ma'am. I'm doing well. How are
yeah,
you doing?
very glad to have this conversation with you. You're a third generation diabetologist. You're very unique in that you bring the youth vitality and current thoughts of the young people into your practice. And you are very unique in that you just not only have a very robust practice, but also have published more than 400 papers and have leadership position in diabetic associations. So very glad to have you. And let's just focus on diabetes and role of exercise in prevention and management of diabetes. I want to start with the magnitude of the problem of diabetes, particularly in India. Can you comment on that?
So, first of all, thank you, ma'am. I'm so happy to be here, and exercise is my favorite topic, so I'm really happy to talk about it. So, if you ask about the magnitude of diabetes in India, we have data from the ICMR India Diabetes Study, which is a national study on diabetes and NCD in India, which reports that we have 101 million people with diabetes in this country. And if you thought that was a big number, we have 136 million people with prediabetes. So that's like a ticking time bomb for us, with more and more people converting to diabetes in the near future. So it is a huge problem in the country.
Yeah, every person I meet when on my visits, they have somebody in the diabetics in their family. Same here as well. When you migrate to other countries,
Yeah,
genetics don't leave you even if you
I
migrate.
don't know.
Your food habits don't leave you most of the time.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about what is the role of diabetes in preventing and in managing diabetes.
Exercise. So, exercise has a role at every step along the glycemic pathway. If you're someone who has high risk for diabetes, you're overweight or obese, you have prediabetes or any other high risk factor, then doing exercise, we have studies that show that in India and all over the world, doing exercise can prevent onset of diabetes. Now, if you're someone who already has diabetes, then doing exercise can help you control your diabetes, bring your A1C less than 7, and also prevent the complications as well as morbidity and mortality due to diabetes. So at every step, you can see that exercise has clear benefit in control of diabetes.
That's fantastic news. It's something you can actually do for yourself when you are prone or actually have diabetes. So let me ask you, what are the recommendations for exercise? What type of exercise? And, can you please advise on that?
So the world over, whether it's the WHO, the ACSM, or wherever you look at it, they used to have recommendations of doing 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity activity per week. So now there's a revision in the guidelines, the WHO, and all of these agencies, the ADA, all of these have come together to now say that we need 300 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity activity per week. Now, why do we need this? We need this for metabolic health. We need it to prevent disease. We can also for weight loss. So for all of these together, there's a revision in the guidelines that say aerobic activity has to be 300 minutes of moderate to vigorous. In addition, there is recommendation of doing resistance training 2 to 3 times a week. And there are some other things in older age groups. We have multi-component exercises recommendation, but the new kid on the block is actually to limit sedentary time or sitting. So these are the latest guidelines that have come out.
So this 300 minutes
Yeah.
is really for anybody. It's not
Yeah.
just with diabetics, but in general
Well,
for
it's for
metabolic
anybody.
health.
It's for
Yeah.
anybody for metabolic health. It's the same for those with diabetes. The only place where it stays 150 minutes is in pregnancy. So for a pregnant woman, the guidelines are still 150 minutes. For everyone else, it's 300 minutes, including for those with diabetes.
So you talked about aerobic exercise versus resistance training. Can you explain the difference and what it is for our audience?
Sure. Sure. Aerobic exercise only means that which consumes oxygen. So all the kinds of activities that we know, running, jogging, swimming, dancing, any of these things that make you breathless, consume more oxygen. So that those are called aerobic activities, and this has to be done at, an intensity that is moderate to vigorous. So what does that mean in simple terms? It means that if you're walking, you reach a distance of 5 to 6 kilometers in an hour. So if you walk at that speed, then you meet the moderate to vigorous speed. So that is required. So that is what you
Is
mean
there
by
any
aerobic.
heart rate that you're aiming to reach, or?
Yeah, so heart rate is generally for moderate is about 50% to 60% of heart rate achievement for age. Again, it depends. So simplistic terms, is difficult to calculate that. So in simplistic terms, we talk about distance or, fatigability, things like that. So that is the aerobic component. The resistance training in simple terms means muscle building. And people often, when we say muscle building, they think, it's a Mr. India or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not true. Muscle building is for everybody. It's particularly important for the Asian Indian, where sarcopenia has a big role to play. So
Explain
here you
sarcopenia.
must. So, sarcopenia is a loss of muscle, loss of bone,
Mm.
and this happens more in Indians, especially Indian women. So, we recommend that this strength training starts in childhood adolescence, so that it builds into adult life, and 2 to 3 times a week is the recommended, using the major muscles of the body, the trunk, the arms, the legs, etc. Also, in addition, for Asian Indians, we have a lot of belly fat. So we do recommend 2 times a week of abdominal exercises in addition to the strength training. So that's the difference between the aerobic and the resistance training.
So resistance training, basically weightlifting, and is
Yeah.
that what you
So
mean? Yeah.
you can do it even with your own body weight. That's called calisthenics.
Mm.
So things like squats, push-ups, all these are weight, training, and it's just done with your body weight. Of course, if you have reached the stage where your fitness is above using your own body weight, you can move on to machines, and it's perfectly fine for both men and women. Actually, resistance training, you have to keep upgrading your thing over time, because your muscles get adapted. So if you're first lifting, say, 2 or 3 kilo weights, then you move to 5, 10, 15, 20, as much as you're able to do. And you keep upgrading yourself over time.
Okay, that's fantastic. Um, so if somebody has never exercised, I mean, 300 minutes is a lot.
Yes.
I don't want them to get disheartened. So
Yeah.
any exercise when somebody is sedentary is
Yes.
a point to begin with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in India, that's the case, right? A lot of people do no exercise at all. So when we start typically with our patients with diabetes, while we tell them that 300 minutes is the recommendation, the aspirational goal to reach, we start with sometimes things like 10 minutes a day. So do 10 minutes for a week, then do 15 for next week, and then move it up to 20, 25. So you have to build. The thing about exercise is building it up slowly. You can't do nothing today and tomorrow you can't run the marathon. You can't do
Mhm.
that. So you have to train. The safety of doing this slowly with enough of time to build your fitness is key in any exercise. But because the thing about exercise is that you have to do it long term. It's not enough to do it for a day, a week, a month. It's not enough. You have to keep doing it every day for the rest of your life. And in order to do that, you have to build it slowly so that you can sustain over longer periods.
And people work and have different schedules. Um, what is the longest you can go without doing in a week, for example?
So it depends on which type of activity you're talking about. Aerobic activity has only a 24-hour cycle. So the good thing about that is that the benefits of aerobic activity come immediately. But the bad is that it goes away also immediately. So you kind of lose maximum in 48 hours, you've lost the effect of aerobic activity. So daily is the recommendation, maximum 2 days. After that, you've lost the benefit of that bout of exercise. Now, resistance training is slightly different. The action takes a long time to come. So like 2 to 3 weeks. You go to the gym today, you're going to see nothing tomorrow. You're going to minimum wait 3 weeks to see the effects. Similarly, once you've built over a period of time, suppose you've broken your leg, or you got a fever in your hospital, something, the effects last for longer, 2 to 3 weeks. So you can go without, you can get the benefits of the long term. So again, it's the type of activity. The recommendation is that you do both, so that you keep getting the benefits of both.
You briefly mentioned about belly fat. Can you
Uh-huh.
explain that? Is it external fat
So
or internal fat or?
Well, here there's a man-woman difference. So women tend to accumulate more subcutaneous fat in all subcutaneous depots of the body, belly, arms, thighs, whatever. Men, the belly fat is usually visceral. So that means it's sitting on all the organs inside of the abdomen, which is increasing their waist circumference. Not like they don't have subcutaneous, but the distribution is like that. Now, for Asian Indians, we have what is called the Asian Indian phenotype, which means that we have thin arms and legs, but tend to accumulate a lot of fat around the abdomen. And so if you look at the BMI, it'll be normal, right? Or
The
sometimes
body
even low.
mass index is normal.
The body mass index is normal,
Mm.
but you'll see that they have metabolic risk because of this belly fat. So this is a particular thing that we see in Asian Indians, and that's why the recommendations to work on, particularly on that belly fat.
So it's a visceral fat that is
It's a lot of
also very
visceral
important.
fat,
Yeah.
mostly. Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's a very important information that people need to remember. There are different kinds of resources that are available to people. Some people may have time and the resources to go to a gym or, whatever. And some people are, they have little kids, they can't take the time off or afford to go. The exercise doesn't necessarily have to be in gym and, all of these fancy places. Is that correct? You can do at home and
Absolutely correct. You can do whatever. So if you see the recommendation now, you have that whole limit sedentary time, because whatever you do, 60 minutes a day is only 1 hour. What about the other 23 hours in the day, right? So
Mhm.
if you're sedentary, this is all an NCD risk for non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, obesity is cumulative over time. So it's not enough to be just doing something 1 hour a day. That's necessary, but that is in addition to all the activities of daily living.
When
So
you say
if you're able,
sedentary, it's just not doing anything, just sitting.
sedentary means sitting.
Mm.
So what happens is people do like 30 minutes of exercise and then they're sitting all day. So but that's not particularly enough. What you need is to do this 30 to 60 minute a day in addition to all the activities of daily living that you would be doing, right? So that's an important one. So if you look at days gone by, people didn't exercise, but they were not overweight at all because they were so active in daily lives,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There was no machine, there was no nothing. They were grinding and walking and doing all of that. So if you get enough activity in your daily life, it's fine. But what has happened now is with all the industrialization, mechanization here and all over the world, that has come down and you've become like pretty much a couch potato most of the time,
Yeah.
right? So that's why you need the additional activity level that's meeting these criteria. Now, if you're someone who's on your feet most of the day, all day, you're especially those who have toddlers and things, they're all the time active, that may be enough for that period of time. But in a few years, you outgrow that, right? So you have to start building that into your life.
I mean, particularly these days, I mean, in Chennai, where you are, and, all these computer hubs, tech industry, they
Yeah.
are like young people, but they are stuck in front of the
Oh,
screen
yeah.
for,
Yeah.
8, 10 hours, and, they can't even get up.
Oh yeah. So we published this study recently. It's called the IPEN study. It's 17 countries across the world, including the US and India and all of these countries. And they've looked at adolescent girls and boys, 13 to 15 years of age, all over the world. And there's one thing that's preventing physical activity and promoting sedentary behavior, and that's social media on their cell phone. Just the single most important thing among our children, because they're hooked to their phones all the time and they're not doing anything else. So they're sitting and they're on their phone. most of the time. So that is a single most across the world. Doesn't matter on how many devices, doesn't matter which part of the world, doesn't matter if you're boy or girl, doesn't matter if you're a developed nation or not. This even India, that has the least ownership of goods and things like that, our children are totally hooked to their phones, and that I think is the most important problem we are facing. So that is why that sedentary behavior becomes very important.
So they're really learning these bad habits right from,
Yes.
like teenagers. And then they
Yes,
continue. And when they work,
into adulthood.
most of them are going into tech industry or something. And most
Yes,
occupations are just
sedentary anyway.
watching
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I think in some ways, nurses, physicians, and medical profession, we are fortunate that we have to
A little bit
walk
more
and
than
talk.
others, but
Yeah.
yeah, not that we are very healthy, but yeah, a little better
Yeah,
than
yeah.
others.
I mean, just at
Yeah,
least it makes you
yeah,
um,
yeah,
not be
mhm,
so sedentary.
yeah, yeah,
But some of the occupations are making you sedentary. That's your
correct.
occupation.
Yeah, those
Working from
techniques, like you
home,
said.
and
Yeah,
you're not maintaining good posture. You're working
yeah,
from
very
couch,
true.
literally, like you said, couch potatoes.
And
But that
COVID
may be
didn't
their
help anything.
occupation. Yeah, that's
COVID
really,
didn't help anything either.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
lifestyle, and
yeah,
you're so busy you can't cook, so you're ordering and you don't know what you're
yeah,
putting in your
absolutely,
mouth, and
absolutely.
things like that. So do diabetics have to worry about when they exercise about their blood glucose going down or up, or?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Now, this depends on a number of things. The first of all is that it depends on what type of diabetes this person has, whether it's type 1 or type 2. Type 2 is less of a problem. Type 1 is more prone to fluctuations in glucose. So, yes, one has to be very
But type
careful.
2 is the most common, right?
Type 2 is 95% of all diabetes is type 2. It's the obesity related classical one, whereas type 1 is the insulin dependent one, usually seen in children, etc. So that one has a lot of fluctuations that you will see, whereas type 2 less so. Now, type 2, when this person is on insulin or certain tablets like sulfonylureas and certain tablets that secrete insulin, then one has to take a look at the sugar. Now, what does one do to prevent hypoglycemia? Generally, in a normal type 2 diabetic, the
You mean
hypo
low
doesn't
blood sugar, right? In excess,
low blood sugar,
hypoglycemia. Yeah.
hypoglycemia. So that's less than 70 milligrams per deciliter. So that doesn't happen if this person is just on diet and exercise and things like that. Body compensates. You don't really get into this low sugar. But if that happens, then you start developing the symptomatology, right? You sweat, are hungry, irritable, palpitations, dizziness, etc. So if that happens, then first thing to do is to get a drink, a sweet drink, liquid, glucose or any juice of any sort that'll bring your glucose up, and you just monitor it till it's become above 100, and then you're in the safe zone. Now, if you're type 1 diabetic, it's necessary to carry a carbohydrate snack with you. So you check the
Example,
glucose. Sorry, like a banana.
example, like a biscuits or
A
something.
banana, a banana
Banana.
is good. Yeah. So you carry this, you check your glucose. If you're type 1, before the exercise bout, you check your glucose level. If it is below 70, have your carbohydrate snack, see that it's above 100 because the exercise will bring down the glucose. If it is above 350, you probably shouldn't be exercising that day. You probably need to get your glucose under control. And otherwise, it's fine. If you're dancing or working out for more than, say, an hour or two, you need to stop. You need to check in between and give yourself a snack if needed. So for type 1, it's slightly more complex. Type 2 doesn't need all this. You'll be fine generally. Just in case you're getting into these low sugar things, then just check with your doctor. Your medication might need some change.
You briefly mentioned pregnancy, that you limit it to 150
Yeah.
minutes. What about age
Um,
recommendations?
So age is age is a number for a lot of people. It depends. If you're someone who's healthy and fine, you meet the same recommendations. There's just no change. But if you start having problems, then accordingly this can be changed. For example, it's do as much as you can. right? So the important thing once you cross the age of 65 is to do multi-component activities. So this includes things like flexibility, walking in many directions. You start losing, reflexes and things after that age. So it's important to keep stimulating, which is why dancing is very good because it stimulates memory, balance, all kinds of directional movements. So you're supposed to walk in all, or rather move in all directions. And a little bit of turning, swinging, all this is recommended after that age, just to keep not only muscles active, but mind healthy, reflexes going, flexibility happening. So all this together is important after a particular, that 65 age.
You mentioned dancing several times. Have you learned dancing from being from Chennai? And yes,
Yes, I'm a classical dancer, but that's not what I'd like to say. I'd like to talk about the dance form that we have for improving fitness for women, particularly in India, because we've been doing this for years now and been trying to get women to get physically active and fit and have failed miserably. Even in our prevention studies and all that, we found that men were more likely to engage and take part in this. Women are more shy, etc. So we had to
so
come
there
up
are
with this.
gender differences in exercise as well. The
There are
mindset. And
there are huge differences. It's
I just
low
want to
in
say
India.
this. I can always tell a dancer, you know, they can be any age, that grace never leaves them, you know. So you can always pick
Right.
a dancer out of a crowd. That's very nice to know.
Thank
So,
you.
with the gender differences that are challenging as well, right? For
Yeah, so
access.
see, all over India, the fitness level, exercise level is low, but it's much lower for women than men. So if we talked about recommendations, how many people meet the exercise recommendations in India? 10% of men and 3% of women. Three.
Hmm,
So
that's
that's
nice
how
to
many
know.
women are actually, it's quite appalling. So over the last 15 years or so, we've been breaking our head on how to get women to engage. So we came up, so they have, there's so many problems. 60 minutes for a woman is a big ask. Doing this every day is a big ask. There are family, there is all kinds of things. Sometimes she can't go out in India. There are cultural issues, right?
Yes.
She needs someone to go out with her to go on a walk, husband, son, somebody, right? So all these come together and it prevents. So up to puberty, the girls are okay. They're kind of equal. Then puberty hits and they're like, okay, now don't go out into the ground. Boys are there. You can't go. You can't do this. You can't go to the gym. So all these are cultural issues in our country.
Hmm.
So we had to overcome all of this. And hence we thought of dancing. So here's a concept that's called Tandav. So what it does is it combines the principles of high intensity interval training, or HIIT, with dance. So when you marry these two, it's called Tandav. What we do is that we bring in the most popular and viral songs from Bollywood, Mollywood, Tollywood, which everyone is vibing to. You pick those, and for about 2 minutes, you do very high intensity. You asked about heart rate earlier.
Yes. Hmm.
High intensity is when you reach about 80 to 90% of heart rate for age. That's not easy to achieve, but in the first 2 minutes, that first song, which is for
Hmm.
2 minutes, you try and achieve that through choreo. So we've done this with choreographers from the film industry to make the steps very easy and safe for them to do. So they go ahead, and while they're vibing to that music, they're, kind of going very high intensity. So then you bring it down for 30 seconds only, where it comes to about 50 to 60% of heart rate for age. Go back to 80%, bring it down. So this up and down happens 4 times. And by the time you finish this 2 minute high, 30-second low, you finish 10 minute. And if you do a 10-minute HIIT workout, you burn fat, your blood pressure comes down, your blood glucose comes down, your cholesterol gets normal, you're happy more than anything else. So this is what we call Tandav. We've reached out to about 10,000 women so far. We've
Wow.
published on this. We've published on this. Initially, we did a pilot so we went to women, and we couldn't find people fit enough to do high intensity activity in India. So we had to go to girls, 13 years, 14 years, children. It takes them 3 weeks to adapt to be able to fit enough to do Tandav. For an adult woman, it takes 3 months to reach that level of fitness from zero, basically. And then they kind of build it. So now we have regular classes going on for this. I told there were 10,000 women and girls engaged with Tandav who've had these benefits. We've published this now, both in pilot mode, and we went to schools. we have girls' schools here in Chennai. So we went to these schools, we reached out to them. The girls loved it. Their moms joined. They taught their friends taught their friends. They were performing at Diwali, and it became a whole big movement. So
So
it's
basically, you
you're
took
welcome to join.
something, yeah, you
You're welcome to
basically took
join.
something very nice, you know,
Uh,
an important activity that is needed into a fun activity. So people enjoy
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the classes happen on a Friday evening, so it's convenient for everybody. We have offline classes happening and online. So if interested, you can join tandav.in.
So count me in. So maybe I'll get a bunch of
Sorry?
people from, I said, count me in. I said, maybe we'll get a bunch of ladies from Houston and other
Absolutely.
parts, and we do a multi-city, activity. That will be fantastic. So this is a very good news, and I would like to know more about
Perfect. We'd
Tantra
be so happy
and
to.
how you did the study, and there's a scientific basis for it. You have a big team
Yeah.
that participated,
Yes.
and so I would like to
Yes.
explore that in our next
Yes.
podcast. So Anjana, this was
Sure.
fantastic. The information you gave gives a
Sure.
lot of hope, and at the same time a fun activity. You don't have to go to a gym, you don't have to get a membership with a lot of money, you don't have to take time away from your toddlers and little kids.
Nothing.
So and maybe they'll dance with you, the kids may dance with you and
Yes.
enjoy
Which is
mother,
great.
kid dancing. So that's fantastic, I just love this. And so you being a classical dancer, it was very appropriate and easy for you to choreograph something and bring science into it and help people. So that's fantastic. Let's do that in the next segment with
Sure.
all your team. And I'd
Uh-huh.
love to know more about it. And thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.